Hey guys, D-Man here. This is the intro, not the actual video, but hope you enjoy it. Guys, D-Man here, doing a Steven Universe, kind of not a compilation. I mean, a Steven Universe, like thoughts and opinions on the trailer for season 5, and also Lars of the Stars. Now, if you have watched my channel, I've already done a review on these two trailers, but this is going to be like my thoughts on these things and like what's going to happen and how these episodes are going to play out. And plus, I'm going to go into a little bit more detail on some stuff I missed, obviously. So this is going to be like all of my thoughts on it and stuff that I missed also. So okay, let's start off with the very first episode I think is going to come out. Is obviously this episode right here with Steven and Connie, as you can see right here. But Steven, in this episode, I think it's going to be the first new one that comes out. The very first new one. It's not going to be like the first one of season 5 because we already had the first of season 5. But this is going to be the first new one that comes out. And this is going to be like directly after Steven comes back home. And I'm assuming Connie is upset in this scene. I think this scene's probably going to happen at the beginning, or maybe the middle, or maybe the end. Obviously, it's going to happen at some point. But this scene's definitely going to happen. I don't think this is going to last very long, because in Lars of the Stars, they're back together. Unless this happens after Lars of the Stars, which is going to be weird. But if it does, it's going to be pretty interesting to see why it does. But I do think this is going to be the first episode that comes out, where Steven is talking to Connie and saying how it's all okay now because they're all okay, they're all back, like everybody's here, and it's all fine. But Connie is upset because Steven did this by himself probably, and he chose to do this, and that probably pissed her off a lot. You know, like, why would you choose to do something so stupid sort of thing, right? But then again, it could be after Lars of the Stars, and it could be a problem with that. You know, Steven did something with Lars of the Stars, you know. Obviously, we don't know, but it's very interesting to think about. But personally, I think this scene right here in this episode is going to be the very first one that comes out. A very new episode. First episode that comes out is going to be this one. And I don't think they're going to be mad too long at each other. Maybe 1 or 2 episodes. And then they're going to solve the conflict, probably. Okay, so now this scene right here with Lars' parents and also Sadie. So this one, I think, might be on the same episode as this one, which is going to be the first episode in my opinion. Or it might be on the second new episode that we're going to get. So it could be either the first episode or the second episode. And this one with Sadie, I do believe this is going to be on the third episode. I do believe Sadie is going to be this way on the third episode after the second episode when Steven tells not only his parents, but also Sadie. And Sadie's probably going to like break down and cry on that episode. But this one is definitely going to be like on the third one right here. This one, I think it's going to be on the third one, no doubt. I'm not super sure, maybe third or fourth. But I don't think it's going to be on the first episode that comes out. I think it's going to be on the third or fourth episode. Alright, so anyways, let's move on to this. So this episode is probably going to be the 4th or 5th episode, I assume. Or maybe even 3rd. It might be with Sadie, but I don't know exactly. But this episode, it's definitely going to be interesting, because this episode is going to involve Lapis, because it just looks like he looks like he's sitting there, and he decides to call up Lapis or something like that. So this episode is going to involve Lapis and also Lapis and Peridot, and I think this is where this scene comes in, where Lapis says they're going to come take out all their anger on Earth and stuff again. Like, we got to get the hell out of here. And I think this is going to be like a little conflict between them two. But I don't think this is the episode where Lapis is going to disappear. Not just yet, or maybe it is. I'm not sure. But I don't think this will be the episode where Lapis disappears. I do think that these 3 clips right here are going to be intertwined in one episode. But at the end, it's just going to be hinted towards Lapis leaving. And then there's going to be Lars of the Stars. probably about the 6th episode or so. Lars of the Stars is probably going to be about the 6th episode. It's going to be pretty interesting. It's probably going to be after the conflict with Peridot and Lapis. And then Steven Universe and Connie, obviously, are going to go visit Lars through line. And then we're going to find Lars with his spaceship, and he's a pirate captain now. And that leads us into these scenes over here with this, with this thing right here. I can't, like, in the trailer that we saw, at least I could not tell what this ship is right here, this little tiny ship. I do think this is what's her name again? The one that Lars is fighting against, Emerald or something like that? But the one that Lars the pirate's fighting against, I do think this is her ship. And she is fighting against Lars. I do think that is Lars' ship right there. And then there's an explosion after this scene. I don't know what that explosion is, but I think it might have something to do with Lars, but it might not. So this thing is probably going to be in Lars the pirate, and it's going to be fighting against Lars. I think that's their ship, but I'm not sure, obviously. Which leads us into this. And I think that this one might be a flashback, but it's definitely going to have something to do with Lars of the Stars, okay? I don't know if it's going to be the same episode of Lars of the Stars, but it's definitely going to have something to do with Lars. So this, like, obviously these two ships are not the same. This one's Lars' pirate ship, and then this one's a brand new one that gets blown up over here and it gets, like, thrown to the planet. That's one of the reasons I think it might be a flashback to when Lars steals her ship and then blows it up. But who knows, right? And then this as well, I think, is going to do with Lars of the Stars. I don't know if it's going to do it the same episode, but it's going to have Lars in it. And it's probably going to be, like, fighting this ship in particular, I think. Or maybe even this ship. So maybe this ship fights this. And maybe this ship fights this. It kind of looks like that if you look close enough. It kind of looks like that, but not really. I don't know which one's going to fight which, but I think all these scenes are all going to be, like, Lars, like, based on Lars. All these are going to be, like, 1 or 2, maybe even 3 episodes just based on Lars in the stars, obviously. Just fighting against Homeworld. Mostly, I forgot her name, but you'll know her name. You know her name. But mostly the villain, right? So I do think all these things, and these 2 ships are going to be piloted by Lars, probably. Like, this one is his stolen one. Then he probably steals this one eventually, or maybe this one's a flashback. And then it's just going to all end up with him crashing on a planet, maybe, or maybe he gets his stolen ship back. I don't know. I just think this is going to all evolve around Lars. These episodes are going to all evolve around Lars in space. Which then leads us to this. Which then leads us to this. This is going to be the episode after the few episodes with Lars, which is Peridot asking Lapis to stay to fight for Homeworld, and then of course she's going to fly away because I assume she's going to offer Peridot to come with her because Peridot's her best friend, and Peridot's like, no, we should fight for Earth. Just come on and do it with me. Come on, Lapis. And Lapis is just like, I can't, and she's probably going to make up some excuse, like, I can't do it, I'm sorry, I just can't do it, and she's going to fly away, and it's going to be a touching scene, although this could happen in that earlier scene, as I was mentioning earlier, when Steven first sees her. That could definitely happen before this, but I think it's going to happen after, but it could happen before. The more I think about it, it's probably going to happen when Steven confronts him. But it definitely could happen before. It definitely could happen after, I mean. So that's just what I'm thinking right now, is that this is going to happen after Lars of the Stars. But now that I think about it, it could happen in the episode with Steven, like, talking to them and they're talking to each other. That could definitely happen where she just leaves because she's upset. Which leads us into this scene right here, Lines Missing. this is pretty interesting. This is going to happen after Lars of the Stars, obviously, and after all the little spaceship adventures we're going to have. This is going to happen after, and Steven at this point might be getting upset, and Connie might be getting upset with him. As I said, Connie could have been upset with him after Lars, but I do think it's going to be the first episode. But then again, it could be after Lars, where Connie and Steven have that argument. And Steven loses his line, obviously, which is going to be really upsetting for him. And it's going to be interesting to see where that goes. And a lot of people say Lion's probably going to die or something like that because Lars is there now. And you can't have two magical beings on the same thing or something like that. So as of this point right here, they don't have any way to get to Lars. Which leads us into this episode, which is where Greg starts asking the Crystal Gems to explain stuff because a lot of bad stuff is happening. And then Pearl says there's a lot of things I can't explain. And then there's a flashback showing them fighting against Pink Diamond, I assume. Although it could be White Diamond, but the gem placement looks like Pink Diamond's gem placement. And it's obviously, it looks like a diamond. It looks like she's really evil. Really evil diamond. But then again, that could just be Pearl's recognition of it, you know? Recollection of it. So I do think this episode will happen in this little part. And then it will move on to the kindergarten episode, or maybe this episode will be after the kindergarten episode. I'm not sure. But anyways, the kindergarten episode is going to happen. And I do think a few things on this kindergarten episode. Peridot gets scared. Steven and Amethyst gets scared, and then they turn to Smoky Quartz and obviously fight against something. What do they fight against? We don't know, but it's definitely coming from Homeworld, or maybe it's coming from underground, because the whole place is shaking in these scenes, like in this scene and this scene, the whole thing is shaking, so maybe it's coming underground, or maybe something's landing that's just shaking everything, and then they turn to this to fight against it. And I had like a thought about this, right? Because I heard the voice actor for Peridot has admitted that she saw the star of Peridot. So Peridot eventually will get a Crystal Gem star. And if she doesn't get poofed, I guess she could just like morph herself to have it, I guess. But I do think she'll get poofed to get it. Which leads me to this assumption. Like in this episode, I think Peridot might get poofed. Where Steven and them are all fighting and Peridot might get poofed. Which will bring Lapis back. And Lapis will get mad and fight against the thing that poofed her and fight against Homeworld for Peridot because Peridot's her best friend. And I think that might be the reason why Lapis comes back is because Peridot gets poofed in this episode right here because she's so afraid. She doesn't have the strength to protect herself, but Lapis is like, you poofed my friend, you're prepared to die. Which brings me to this image right here. Obviously, I think this is where Lapis gets mad and like fights against Homeworld. Although this could be also in those prior episodes, like that prior episode could all be one episode just of Lapis and Peridot. And this could be like Lapis blocking Peridot from following her or something like that, or blocking Steven from following her. It could be any number of things, but I like to think that Peridot's going to get shattered, or not shattered, but poofed, and Lapis is going to come back to defend him. But who knows? This could definitely be all one episode of just Lapis and Peridot, and then at the end, Lapis flies away. Hopefully comes back, but, you know, who knows? Which brings us to this scene. And this scene, I think, is going to come at the ending of Season 5, like, close to the ending, maybe like an episode or two away from the ending. And I do think, originally I thought she was running away from, like, something bad, what she could be. But if you look close enough at her face, it kind of looks like she's happy yet sad. So I think on this episode right here, Lars is going to come back. Yeah, on this episode right here, Lars is coming back. And she is running to him because he just landed a ship or maybe crash landed. Who knows? But I think this is going to happen at the end of Season 5. And Lars is going to be back and say he's going to be like, "Oh, Lars!" Hopefully Lars, doesn't have a crystal gem girlfriend, or a crystal girlfriend. You know what I say, you might get pretty pissed off. But that's what I definitely think this is going to be. It's going to be at the ending, where Lars comes back and says all happy, sad. Just by I guess she does look like she's running away in fear, but also... Sorry for that little brief cut there. Anyways, as I was saying, in this scene, it does look like Sadie is sad, yet kind of fearful, so maybe she's running away from something that's dangerous, or maybe not. Obviously, we don't know yet. I do think that she looks more like sad happy, so I do think this is going to involve Lars, and she's going to run towards them, and this is going to be by the end of Steven Universe, of Season 5, I should say, not Steven Universe. Of Season 5, this is going to be by the end of it. Maybe an episode or two before the end, or maybe Lars, Lars of the Stars will lead up to this moment. I'm not actually sure when Lars will come back, but maybe he'll come back sooner than we think. You know, who knows. But, other than that, most of these things I said are pretty much my thoughts. Like, all these things I said are pretty much my thoughts, obviously. The Lapis and Peridot thing might be 1 or 2 episodes, though, because I'm not sure about that one. And that part where she, looks angry, it could be the same episode, so I'm not actually sure. I say it's about a 50% chance that I'm right, and there's a 50% chance that I'm wrong, obviously. It does look like it all comes from the same episode, but then again, things can be deceiving, you know? So, I hope it's the way I say it, but, whatever. Anyways, that's my little breakdown of these 2 trailers. My full breakdown, full in-depth analysis of them, and my, full theories and opinions and speculations on it. If you enjoyed, like, comment, subscribe, and share. And as always, my friends, stay sane. Peace. Hey guys, this is the outro. Just want to remind you that if you want to subscribe, you can press the circle, or if you want to watch another video, you can press the square. And also, if you like the video, give a like, leave a comment, share it. As always, my friends, stay sane.